Okay. Mr. Sharp. Jeez. You alright over there?
It's like fur balls.
Fur balls? Grumpy cat fur balls. For some strange reason, this shark takes like 800 years to open.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
I think it's like a polycount or something.
It's not like there's anything complicated about it. Alright, so we're actually in a really easy place right now. Remember on the 4 and 5 on your keyboard changes between wireframe and flat shade. We'll be switching back and forth between wireframe and Shatflade is what I was going to say, but I meant flat shade. On the right hand side at the bottom we've got our layers that turn off between mesh, controls, and bones. Doesn't look like the controls are in the right layer, so let's go ahead and turn off mesh and don't touch, and drag select all these controls, and then right click add to the controls layer. Right click add selected controls to the controls layer. That way, if we click the V on the controls layer, our controls will pop in and out. Now let's not turn the shark on right away. Just turn the bones on, which is in don't touch. And this is going to be a very, very going to be a very, very quick and easy process. Okay. I was just thinking to myself, I was wondering if I wanted to set up controls, because I was going to have controls for the eyes that move the eyes back and forth, but I was wondering if I wanted to have a control for the head that worked the same way instead of just this kind of normal control here. Let's go ahead and do that, actually. Let's grab his head control and right click on the head control and go to Control Vertex, and you can turn off your bones and your mesh layer. So right click on the head control, Control Vertex, and I want to select all the vertices on this controller for the head, and let's just hit W to move and move those out in front of his head, and you can turn on his mesh layer to see how far out in front of his head. And I'm just going to push it out about let's say about 2 or 3 feet out in front of his head. You just drag a box over all of them. Click the arrow tool on the upper left, drag a box over all of them. And then when you're finished, right click on the control and go to object mode, so you can select an object mode. And when you rotate it, the pivot point should still be back at his head, which is what we want. Okay, that's the reason we moved the verts instead of moving the actual object. So now what I want to do is go ahead and turn off all your layers. And let's create a locator. So if you click on the rigging tab up at the top, and the far left little icon is called a locator icon. Looks like a little purple sprocket thingy. looks like a purple plus with another three-dimensional line running through it. So click that. That's going to create a locator. And then I want you to move that out in front of the shark over by where we put his facial control. Actually, you know what I want you to do with that? I want you to V-snap that to his left eye. So if you hold V while you move it, V-snap it to his left eye. Then duplicate it and V-snap the other one to his right eye. If you hold V while you move, and then what we want to do is grab them both at the same time and then go ahead and move them out in front of the his head control. So we have a right eye and a left eye. And when you're V-snapping, it's always good to hide the mesh because it'll snap to mesh points. So if you want to hide your mesh layer.
Could you do that one more time?
Right. You need to show me again how you do the circle for the head.
Yeah, so all you do is how do you make it or how do you move it?
Yeah.
How do you move it?
When I use the pivot point, it's still inside the circle. It's not in the head of the shark.
It's not back there?
Yeah, it's not there.
Okay, well, to move a pivot point, you select the object you want to move the pivot point from and hit insert on your keyboard. It's above the delete key. Hit insert and it's going to change it to the pivot point mover, and then you can move that pivot point. You can V-snap that pivot point to the head joint,
No, okay. Go ahead.
and then hit insert again to set it. Okay. Now, as far as the locators go, I'll go ahead and do that step again. I'm just going to turn off my shark mesh, and up in the rigging tab, you have the little locator icon here in the far left. I'm just going to click that one time. It's going to create at the center of the grid. So I'm just going to move it up a little bit. And while I'm moving it, I'm going to hold V and snap it to one of the eyes. Then I'm going to duplicate it by hitting Control D. Then I'll V-snap it to the other eye. And then I'll just grab them both, and then I'll move them out near the head control. Okay, now this is where we get into some real fun. What I want you guys to do is go ahead and select the select the two eye controls and the head control all at one time. And we're going to, just like before we rig a character or skin a character, what are the 2 steps that we always do?
Delete history, freeze transformation.
Ding, 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 Grumpy Cat is the big winner.
Am I gonna get a game?
Yes.
Overwatch?
Yes.
Thank you.
Actually, Overwatch would be an awesome prize, wouldn't it?
Yes, it is.
Like an Overwatch license. Not that everybody doesn't have it already.
I haven't.
All right, so we're gonna edit, delete by type history, modify, freeze transformations. And the reason we do that is so that when you're animating this character, if you ever just want to like grab the controls and set everything back to 0 in the channel box, you can just grab everything, type in 0 in translate XYZ, rotate XYZ, and boom, it'll snap back to where the shark is right back at 0 here in this position, as opposed to somewhere else where this thing was created. Okay. Now the next step that we're going to do is we're going to make it to where I want you to parent the 2 eye controls to the head control. So select both eye controls, then shift select the head control and hit P. That way when you move the head control, the eye controls move with it. So like if you were to move your head, your eyes are going to move with it. I mean, technically you could look at something and move your head and keep your eyes locked onto it, but for this step we're going to do that.
What if you want to move an eye, like pull it out, you unparent it?
If you want to pull an eye out,
Yeah, you like unparent it?
It depends on the
Because
feature.
it would all move together if you like tried to pull just one, wouldn't it?
if you want to move eyes separately from each other,
Yeah, like just like pull it out.
like pull an eye out, well, you would have to rig that a little differently,
Mean like a chameleon?
I guess. Alright, so the next step here is what we want is when we move this little head control around, we want the shark's head to follow it. Okay? So I want you to select the head control, then shift select the head joint, and up in the left hand corner change your drop down to rigging, and then go to constrain and the option box for aim. And then there's a little checkbox up at the top and it says maintain offset. Make sure that's clicked on and then hit apply. And then when you if you turn your shark mesh back on, if you move the shark head control, the shark's head will follow the head control. I'll go over that step one more time. If you guys had any issues, go ahead and just undo before it was constrained. And you select the head control first, shift select the head bone next, then go to constrain aim option box. Make sure maintain offset is checked on at the top and then hit apply. Then when you turn the shark mesh back on, his head should follow the shark control.
My head doesn't follow.
What?
My head doesn't follow.
Okay, when you rotate your head joint, does it rotate the shark's head? The joint, not the control. Okay, so I'll do that again. So you select the head control first, not the joint. Control first. Then shift select the head joint. It helps if you turn your shark's mesh off, because you can just shift select the joint. Then with your aim constraint open, make sure maintain offset is on and hit apply. Then when you move the shark's head control only, move the shark's head control only. Oh, sorry. There's one step I forgot to tell you guys. I'll just undo that again. My bad. Select the shark head control and go to modify center pivot. Modify center pivot. So center the pivot on the shark's head control.
Yeah.
What?
Its head is gone.
Okay, undo. Undo to where his head comes back. Select the shark control only. The shark head control only.
When I select the head control, it also selects the.
Okay, so undo so that it's not pink. Undo until they were attached. There you go. So now select the shark head control only. Modify center pivot. Then select the head controller, select the head joint, and apply the aim constraint. Sorry about that. I had gone ahead one step, and so you want to move that head constraint, not rotate it. See how I'm moving it, not rotating it? Is everybody with me? Who's having problems?
Hold on.
Connor, can you help him?
Just once.
So you select the phase control and then the joint.
Correct.
What do we need to check the maintain offset?
Right here.
No, why do we check it?
Oh, why do we need to check maintain offset? Because if you were to just do an aim constraint with the way that it is now, because we have oriented the head to point down, and I'm not sure of where the axes are on the head as compared to the control. If we didn't check maintain offset, the head would and we did aim, the head might pop over here. So we want it to just stay where it's at. We're basically saying, stay where you're at, I'm where I'm at, and aim from there. Don't adjust to some weird axes.
Okay.
Do you know what I'm saying? Does that make any sense? Probably not, but that was the best way that I could explain it.
Oh, and these are crazy killer. No, I think it might have been the maintain.
Did you guys get it?
Yeah,
Cool.
It was probably the pivot and the offset.
The pivot in the offset. Okay. All right. Let's move on here. All right, guys. So we're gonna do the same thing with the with the eyes, with the eye controllers. So go ahead and select the right eye control, then shift select the right eye ball joint, aim constraint, and then the left eye control, shift select the left eye joint and aim constrain. That way, when you move the eye controls, you'll see those little eyes move with the eye controls. Then move around, and like all modelers do, for some strange reason, they do not make eyes spherical, and I don't know why. 'Cause they don't have a clue about rigging, apparently.
They hate basic geometry.
So like as pretty much as a rigger, you are also an eye modeler. Just letting you know. You will become an eye modeler.
Most eyeballs aren't.
They're not, but
So I'm guessing that he's coming from like looking at the biology.
some sort of weird thing. And I'm noticing an issue here. When you move the eye controls around, what happens?
The mouth. Mouth moving.
We got some teeth movement.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and fix that. Let's go ahead and fix those teeth. Okay, let's make another layer. And let's call it teeth.
I'm still a step behind.
You're still a step behind. Connor, can you help him?
Still moving.
All right. So go ahead and make a new teeth layer. I had to call it teeth 1 for some reason. Don't know why. And then click on the teeth, right click, add to that layer. And go ahead and turn off everything but controls and teeth. And what we want to do is we want to select the top layer of the teeth, because the bottom layer move with the jaw. So right click on the teeth and go to vertex, and I want you to select shift select a chunk of vertices, or one vertice on each one of the upper teeth. Doesn't have to be all of them. Just one on each tooth. And we're going to use our shift greater than tool to select all of the rest of the vertices on the top of the teeth. You can turn control layer off too while you do this, so it's easier, so those controls don't get in the way. So again, I'm just selecting vertices on the top of each one of the top tooth. And then we're going to use the shift greater than trick by holding shift and then clicking the greater than tool or key on your keyboard a couple times, and you will select all the teeth. Then you're going to flood all the weights using your paint skin weights tool to the head joint. So if we go back to our rigging tab here, double click paint skin weights, find the head joint and click flood. Boom, all the teeth now will be 100% flooded to the head joint. So up in the front there, you need to undo. Because you don't want all the teeth, you just want the upper layer of teeth.
The teeth at the bottom were
What?
white to begin with.
What?
The teeth in the bottom were already white. So
What joint do you have selected in the paint skin weights tool?
the upper one, the bottom teeth were already white.
What joint do you have selected in the paint skin weights tool?
Mouth.
You have mouth selected?
Supposed to be the head.
Okay, so I'll just put it to you this way. You want the upper teeth flooded to the head and the lower teeth flooded to the jaw. Or mouth, whatever you called it. Make sense? So if that's not the way it is, go ahead and just do that now. If you click head, the upper teeth should turn white. If you click mouth, the lower teeth should turn white. Everybody, is that like that for everybody's? Make sure you, yeah. Okay, cool, fixed. Click your arrow tool. Let's get out of the paint skin weights tool and go back to rigging here. Alright, so now our eye controls. Our head and eyes follow this guy. And the next step, what we want to do is go ahead and parent the rest of these controls, not parent, but constrain the rest of these controls to the other joints, okay? So I want you guys to just watch up here for a second. Just sit back and watch me do this, and then I'll have you guys do it, because it's the same thing over and over again, alright? So I'm going to turn off my shark here, and to where I just see controls and joints. Actually, I'll turn off my teeth too, don't need those. And I'm going to select all my controls, delete by type history, freeze transformations, where the heck is freeze transformations? I can't find it. Oh, modify freeze transformations. And I'll turn back on my joint here. And for the, what controller is this? Oh, I have another joint there. Okay. So I'm going to select the control, shift select the joint, and then I'm going to go constrain parent, and then when I rotate that controller, it will rotate the joint. Again, you select the controller, shift select the joint, parent constrain, and that's it. You're going to do it for every single bone that has a control anyway, including the flippers. Everybody good?
I need some help.
What happened?
I didn't do it. I apparently don't remember how to do it right.
All right, I will help you, sir. All right. So I'm going to do the tail one, okay? Do the tail one with me. So turn off your shark. Did you freeze transformations and delete history on all your controls? Except for the head and the eyes, because we already did those. You can turn off your joint layer. It's probably easier to select them all with your joint layer turned off. That would be your don't touch layer. Drag a box over all of them. Edit, delete by type history. Modify, freeze transformations. Got it?
Yes.
Turn your joint layer back on. Zoom into that tail. Select the tail control. Tap T on your keyboard, which will remove the manipulator from your view so it doesn't get in your way. Shift, select the tail joint. Go up to Constrain Parent. Then when you turn your shark back on, if you rotate the parent control, it should do the tail. Now constrain all the rest of the controls to their respective joints. Now for you guys that have moved ahead here, I want to show you. Did I do the jaw? No, not yet. Okay, for you guys here, go ahead and look up here. Everybody that is ready to move on. What we're going to do is we're going to parent the controllers to each other, moving up the chain in the way that they need to be. So from the bottom half of the shark, you'll select the shark tail, then the next one up and hit P, so that when I rotate this controller, it also rotates the other controller. Then I'll select that controller, then the next one up and hit P. That way when I rotate that bottom tail, actually that is the wrong one to do. This one goes to the fin. So when I rotate the fin control, there we go. And then the head goes to the spine, so that when I rotate the spine, it'll rotate the head, kinda. And then when I select the spine, this is odd. Hey,
Hey.
what's up?
Whenever you get a minute, I just want to talk to you.
Okay. So he kind of has this mid controller.
Yeah, where I broke my shark too.
Yeah, that's right. Now remember, if you want to unparent something, you just select the control and hit Shift P. Also, the jaw control is supposed to be parented to the head control. That's weird. That's not the head control. It is another controller that I have no idea why we added that joint. Actually, the jaw is supposed to be parented to the Shark Week. We may need to aim constraint the jaw control
So those three open over there.
to the, yeah, those are open, to the head control. What the heck? Or not. How the heck?
Haven't it?
I need to figure this jaw thing out, you guys. Remember, shift, if you make a mistake, Shift P is unparent.
And the outliner is parented to anything.
Not at the moment. Okay, I know how to fix this. Okay. Alright, so I wanna, where's this? There. Prove that.
You say to parent the joints to each other?
No, you parent the controls to each other.
In order?
So this is what you do for the shark, okay? You guys look up here real quick, please, everybody, because this was really weird. This shark is, I've never done a shark before, so this is a learning process for me.
I'll talk to you, Marcus. You seem busy.
Okay. The tail, the tail is on its own. The tail tip is parented to this guy, okay? This center thing here controls the entire shark, okay? This tail piece skips over this and gets parented to the fin control. Then this isn't the head control here. The head control's out here. This is what controls the head. This is just like a neck, mid-body. We call this spine. So the spine, which controls this area, gets parented to this area. And then the fins get parented to this guy. And then this guy gets parented to the main control. Everybody get that? Probably not. I can go over it one by one. Remember, Shift P is unparent. And then this mouth thing is going to be weird, but I think I know what to do with that. But I'll tell you guys that in a second. Mainly what you want is if you rotate this. It's really hard to talk over that. When you rotate this center control, you want the whole shark to spin. And then that head control should also get parented to the main body control.
Should the jaw also be?
So the jaw, don't worry about the jaw right now. That's a hot mess. But I know what to do for it. just need to try something real quick. Okay, so
Quick question for you.
yep.
Spine one is where we parenting those to the same to the fin.
Spine 1 is this. No, spine 1 is this.
Yes, and which one are we parenting those to?
This one. So this one controls. See when I rotate this one. See which ones it rotates.
Yes.
It rotates the one in front of it and the fins. So that means that the fins are parented to this, and spine is parented to spine 1. And then spine 1 is parented to the main control, which rotates the whole shark.
Okay. Thank you.
Guys, if you have questions, ask them. This shark is weird. Trust me. Took me a minute to figure out how to do it. Okay. We're going to do this mouth because it's pretty crazy. Alright, everybody ready to do the mouth? Okay, well, don't worry about it right now. So, if you move the head control, did everybody constrain their mouth to the mouth control? To where you rotate the mouth control and this happens? Does this do like this for you guys? Rotate the mouth control and this happens? Yay? Everybody on that?
That's really useless.
Okay. Open up your hypergraph hierarchy. So go to Windows, Hypergraph Hierarchy. Okay. And right now when we move the head control around, it moves the top of the head, but not the bottom part of the jaw. Okay, the reason for that is that we have the shark head joint aim constrained, basically aiming at this thing. So what we need to do is we need to make it to where the jaw is like off on its own, doing its own thing. So what we need to happen is we need something controlling that jaw. We need, when we rotate this head joint, we want that to also rotate the jaw. So go ahead and click on the jaw control, and in your hypergraph hierarchy hit F, and it'll zoom right to that jaw control in the hypergraph hierarchy. Okay? And I want you to group that jaw control. Hit Control G. And what we're going to do is we are going to V-snap the pivot. Turn off your shark mesh. We're going to V-snap the pivot of this jaw control to the head joint. So hit Insert on your keyboard, then hold V and snap that pivot to the head joint. So we want the pivot of the jaw control group to the head joint. So if you hit Insert on your keyboard, you're going to V-snap that. Okay? Then hit Insert again to set the pivot. Then what we're going to do is we are going to constrain the jaw control to the head joint. So we're going to do it in reverse. So select the head joint, then shift select the jaw control group, constrain parent. So the group that there's now a group that's over the jaw control that's constrained to the head joint. And the head joint is aiming at the head control. So when we move the head control, it now moves not only the head, but it drives the jaw control. Then we can select the jaw control on its own and set keys on that and do whatever we want, because that's not being controlled itself. It's got like an over group control. Does that make sense? Probably not. That's okay. I got this all on video. Does this happen now for you guys when you move the head control? Does it move everything? Or did I go way too fast with too many steps? Connor, did you get it?
What?
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm going to redo it, alright? So I'm going to go back into my hypergraph hierarchy here. I'm going to delete my parent constraint. I'm going to unparent my jaw control and delete that group. Okay? Alright, so open your hypergraph hierarchy. Find your jaw control. We're going to group this jaw control. Control G. Now I'm going to turn off my shark so I can see the bones. I'm going to hit insert on my keyboard to V-snap the pivot to the head bone. Then I hit insert, not the jawbone, the head bone. So the group's pivot, I select the group, hit insert. That was weird. Okay. Everybody got that far? Everybody with me this far? Anybody not with me? Okay. Where are you at, sir? I don't even see your hypergraph up.
I'm still like at the part where I'm supposed to be pairing.
Well, don't worry about that. You can do that after all this. You can totally do that after all this. That's the thing about rigging, is that you get to a point in rigging where you don't have to do everything in like a specific order. You can go back and fix this, remove this, go back and tweak this and do this, alright? Open up your hypergraph hierarchy.
Where is it?
Windows, hypergraph hierarchy. Alright, now select that jaw control, and in your hypergraph hierarchy, one of the things, when you're in Maya, you have to activate windows that you're in so Maya understands which window you want to do stuff in. So for example, if I'm in the hypergraph hierarchy window and I want to do stuff in my perspective window, I have to just like middle mouse click real quick in my hypergraph my perspective window so that Maya knows I want to work in here or I want to execute commands in here. Okay, I can't be in one window and expect to be executing commands in other windows. Does that make sense? You guys are so vocal today. It's just blowing my mind.
Communicating telepathically.
I mean, it's like, yeah, are we just communicating telepathically or what? Okay, so select the jaw control in here. Then you're going to activate this window by just clicking in it, okay? Or actually, sorry, just select the jaw control in here and group it. Control G. If you're in this window and you want to find the jaw control here, just hit F and it'll zoom right to it. Alright, in any window in Maya, if you hit F, it'll zoom right to whatever you have selected. So we're going to group that by hitting Control G. So now you should see Group 1 over the jaw control. Then what we're going to do, with the group selected, activate your perspective window here by just clicking in it. hit insert on your keyboard. That's going to activate or allow you to move the pivot point of the group. Then hold V and V snap that to the head joint. Okay, you want to hide your shark so that, because when you V snap stuff, it can also snap to polygons, which would be the shark. You don't want the shark to get in your way. So V snap that to the head joint, then hit insert again to set the pivot. Okay? Then what we want to do is we want to parent constrain the group to the head joint. So select the head joint, then shift select the jaw control group, constrain parent. Then when you move the head control, it now moves everything. So the way that works is the head control drives the head joint. The head joint now drives the jaw control group, and the jaw control group now drives the jaw control. See how that works? Kind of, sort of, maybe not. That's okay. Okay, you guys. Everybody just look up here real quick. I'm going to show you how this shark is supposed to work. Yours may not work like this. That's okay. Okay. So right now, the fin, if I click on the fin control, it's only going to drive the tail. It's going to skip over that controller in the center, because that controller in the center controls the whole shark. If I click on the center, I'd say call it the gill control or the spine 1, and rotate that. It's going to rotate the inside of the shark and the fins. Then the last control will control just the head, where the head aims. And then the top control, which is in the center, rotates the entire shark and the head. So this moves everything. The fin controls the tail, and then you have the inside control, which controls the shark. And then of course the fins control the fins. Did I make that incredibly difficult? Tried not to. Now, one of the things I noticed when I move my shark here, I have these rotate pivots for the eye joints. For the eye balls. So I'm just going to turn those off. I'll click on each eyeball, hit Control A, click on the eye, and turn the rotate pivot off for that. Because we don't want our animators to be moving this guy around and being like, what's that? Animators get very confused. Not to bash animators, but you want to make your rigs like as simple and easy as possible and turn as much stuff off so they can't break your rig. So for example, if I was going to set this guy up, I mean, he's pretty much rigged. If I was going to set him up to where an animator couldn't break this, we definitely don't want an animator scaling any of these controls. So I would hide everything but my controls. So let's go ahead and do this real quick, okay? Everybody hide all your layers except for the controls. You're going to select all the controls. Then on the right hand side where it says scale, shift select all the scale channels. Right click on those channels. and you should see something that says lock and hide selected. Lock and hide selected. And what that does is it locks the scale channel. So now if you select any of those controls and hit R to scale, it blacks out the scale tool. So an animator or anybody else couldn't scale that control. Another thing that we would want to do is we would never want our bone layer to be visible. So we would want to turn off that. That's don't touch. That goes off. And we don't want any of our mesh layers to be able to be, we don't want the animator to be able to select the mesh. There's no need for the animator to mess with the mesh. All of our controls should be able to control everything that the animator will want to do with the mesh. So what you can do is click R on the layers that have mesh in them. There's another little box, the third box over. If you click R in there, I think that stands for reference, I think. And now when you try and select your meshes, you can only select controls. And they haven't done this yet, but they need to make it to where I can lock layers so animators can't mess with it.
Maybe you should put it in a folder this way with don't touch.
Well, that's why I name it Don't Touch, but if there's anybody that will find a way to break your rig, it's an animator. Anyway, that's it for Mr. Shark here.